Entertaining truly is an art form. You will want to make sure that your home is clean, that the food is prepared, that is well served, that you create a happy and relaxed atmosphere. All this demands talent. A good host does this with pride and pleasure. But unless the host respects certain rules of etiquette, the occasion will not be perfect. So, whom to invite? Or more importantly, whom not to invite? If we know that the Meyers and the Schultzes are sworn enemies, there is absolutely no point in trying to effect a reconciliation between them.
They are unlikely to thank you for it. It would be unwise to invite Dr. Majetic and Mrs. Lemon if we know that Mrs. Lemon will spend the whole evening pestering the doctor with her complaints.
A rather old-fashioned and formal couple and a young, somewhat bohemian couple are sure not to agree about abstract art if the older couple has no interest in the subject.
Nor would it be wise to invite Mr. and Mrs. Schmack and Miss Wagner, whose sister was Mr. Schmack's first, now divorced wife. It would be unwise to bring all these people together, and our sense of tact will prevent us from inviting people who are for any reason unable to harmonize. You must never forget that as the host or hostess, you must always be sensitive towards your guests, and make sure they are properly combined.
So only those who have common interest and are of equal status. This would be equally unwise, for if free journalists or doctors spend the evening talking of their own professions, your other guests will find this rather unpleasant, indeed torturous.
A good host dresses with taste and discretion, and does not attempt to outdo his guests. They will not allow their children to take center stage. Young children can often be tiresome.
If you have pets, do not assume your guests will share your love of animals. These rules are at the root of all social behavior. Introductions also need careful consideration. It is important to introduce guests who do not know each other before they commence social interactions.
A sure sign of finesse is to precede the introduction with a subtle entrée into the ceremony.
Allow me to introduce you.
Mr. Husman,
Miss Husman,
Mrs. Slipčević, Mr. Višnjić.
In order to aid the conversation, the hostess should make a short and pleasant comment.
Mr. Višnjić is also an enthusiastic skier.
She then turns to both gentlemen.
Mr. Slipčević, Mr. Višnjić, Mr. Husman, Miss Husman.
The introductions should be accompanied with a slight gesture of the hand.
During the introductions, elderly Miss Slipčević and Mrs. Višnjić remain seated, while her son and Mr. Višnjić stand.
All the kitchen preparations should be completed well in advance,
so that the hostess has enough time before the arrival of her guests to rest, change her clothes, manicure her nails, check her hairstyle.
to make sure everything is just as it should be.
You would not want the kitchen smells to linger on your person. Surely you would rather smell of perfume. So, however laborious your preparations were,
You must not let the effort show. And you, dear hosts, you must surely be clean-shaven. You are flawless. Nonetheless, have another look. Maybe your tie is not quite straight. And your cufflinks, do not forget your cufflinks. At the first sound of the doorbell, you must appear happy, smiling, and elegant to greet your guests.
The rules of etiquette demand that guests be served only on spotless and crisply laundered table linen.
stains on the linen are also stains on the honor of the hostess. The hostess should call her guests to table thus.
Lunch is served.
The host addresses his male guest.
Mr. Trottle, would you be so kind as to escort Mrs. Jolnay to her seat?
This way the seating arrangement will be clear. A beautifully laid table with floral decorations awaits them in a well-lit room.
Flowers and candles remain the most elegant form of table decor.
Their warm and gentle light provides the special and relaxed atmosphere, which is so useful for social occasions.
The men should wait for the ladies to be seated and take their seats after the hostess.
Then the hostess says,
Dear guests, bon appétit.
A well-mannered guest will eat without fussiness, that is, without endless prompting. He should eat everything that is served, even when it is not his favorite meal.
table manners are by far the best indicators of good breeding.
Some people are, in all other fields of etiquette, models of correct behavior. Yet when faced with a knife and fork, fail dismally.
Good table manners must be learned from an early age.
That is the only way they will become flesh and blood and not merely a decoration one leaves behind as soon as nobody is looking. Eating with grace and delicacy means being sensitive to the eyes and ears of our fellow guests.
The hostess will not be impressed by a guest who soils the edge of his plate or is generally inconsiderate towards the table linen.
Guests should not drink before the host has raised his glass and made the toast.
My dear friends, I am delighted you could all join us after such a long time. Welcome. Cheers!
Chin chin!
Cheers.
The toast should be charming Short and sweet, but poignant.
Dear friends, I am delighted to have the pleasure of your company. Welcome. If the lady whom the gentleman wants to toast is seated next to him, he will say, "Allow me to drink to your health."
The lady has even less to do. She should smile graciously, take a sip, and give a little nod. She need not raise her glass. Real lady will know which of the many varieties of smiles best fits the occasion. When the meal is over, the hostess leaves the table
and with the least possible disturbance removes the dishes.
It is not polite to eat up and leave. This kind of behavior is almost unacceptable, unless there is a very good reason. For example, an urgent call that someone has been taken ill.
Every event has its beginning, its culmination, and its conclusion.
It is therefore important for the dinner party to reach its natural end.
The point of entertaining is not for the guests to eat their full, but to socialize pleasantly, to feel relaxed, and to depart contented.